Mario Party. What is there to say about this game? Anyone who grew up with an N64 like myself would know that this competitive party game is responsible for many destroyed friendships and bitter rivalries. Whether it's using Boo to steal your friend's star or being screwed over by that same friend in chance time, Mario Party will always be remembered by many as one of the most memorable party games to grace any console. Minigames tried to replicate its formula for success, but in my opinion, the thing that separates Mario Party from its competitors is, hands down, the minigames. The minigames are like the lifeblood for the series, and for this video, we're going to count down my top 10 best minigames for the Mario Party franchise. Now, just to be clear, since I don't own all the main series Mario Party games, I'm only going to list the ones from the original N64 trilogy. In the first 3 games alone, if you include variants, there are over 190 individual minigames, so choosing just 10 is easier said than done. But after playing and studying each and every single one for analysis, the games I have picked are what I consider the cream of the crop of Mario Party minigames. A lot of factors such as actual skill, luck, difficulty, balance, and overall fun factor were taken into consideration when composing this list. It was really hard to narrow down to just 10, but nevertheless, here are the results. Number 10. Move to the Music. Just barely making it to the number 10 spot on this list, we got Move to the Music. This minigame from Mario Party 2 is a neat little Simon Says rhythm game where the one player tries to make a pattern and the team of 3 have to try and repeat the pattern created by the first player. The overall enjoyment I got from being the dance master is just awesome. It's really cool to be able to create your own input patterns and seeing the other players have to try and repeat what you just did. I always enjoyed seeing my friends struggle to remember my patterns. If you are on the team of 3, it's much harder to win this game because the input commands from the dance master are distributed equally among the 3 players, meaning just because you memorized it doesn't mean your teammates have as well. It definitely requires a lot more effort when you're on a team of 3 rather than being the dance master. And because of this, the overall fun factor definitely feels more one-sided with this one, which is why it isn't higher up on the list. But a great game all the same. Number 9. Basketball. I myself am not even a fan of the sport, let alone play it. So what's the best way to make it interesting? Just add bombs in it, of course. Basketball is an epic 2-on-2 game of basketball where the first team to score wins. There's a real emphasis on teamwork in this minigame, as trying to score a goal by yourself is extremely difficult. The music also really fits the gritty atmosphere of the court and only adds to the feel of the minigame. This is the only 2 versus 2 minigame on this list, and you might argue that other minigames such as Destruction Duet and Eats a Pizza are better team-based minigames, but Basketball was one that really stuck out to me as being the best 2 versus 2 minigame in the entire trilogy.
Finish!
Number 8. Pipe Maze. It's really hard to justify calling Pipe Maze a 1 versus 3 minigame, as it is the only minigame in which the 3 players have no control of anything throughout the entire minigame and don't collectively share the prize that the one player didn't receive, making this game feel more like a one-player minigame. But all the same, this game is really noteworthy for me because of the fact that the game really tests your ability to keep track of your assigned pipe. Now, admittingly, as fun as it is to try and keep track of your pipe, the mechanics in this minigame are extremely unbalanced, as despite being called a 1 versus 3 minigame, there really is an unfair advantage towards the one player no matter how you look at it. If Pipe Maze was a luck-based minigame, then there would be an equal chance for anybody to win. But if the one player is a master of the game, everyone else is guaranteed to lose in this game. Although it is flawed, this minigame is still an interesting concept, earning it my number 8 spot on this list. Number 7. Roll Call. If you've ever played that one minigame in Pokemon Stadium 2, Streaming Stampede, then you'll know that this involves the same sort of concept. Just count things. Roll Call is one of those very difficult minigames because the objects on the screen move around and can be really confusing to deal with. There are 3 variants of this minigame, as either bombs, boos, or toads that need to be counted. Each variation has its own unique gimmick and keeps things interesting. Part of the reason why I like this minigame is because it uses a simplistic concept and makes it very challenging to win. Each of the 3 different variations has a nicely set difficulty that made me want to come back for more. Overall, a really solid game in the catalog of playable minigames. Number 6. Shock, Drop, and Roll. If there's any minigame that made me feel like I was trying to torture the other 3 players, it's Shock, Drop, and Roll. The whole point of this minigame is to try and get your opponents off the moving cylinder and into the power lines down below. Watching your opponents squirm while you were rocking the analog stick back and forth is just so satisfying. Though, if you're like me, it's actually easier to be on the rotating cylinder because jumping is an easy way to correct your movements. This game, I felt, had a good amount of balance involved and had a perfect difficulty curve. Probably the only complaint I have with this one is that the computers on the hard and super hard difficulty can be virtually impossible to knock off. They will stay on, no matter what, and I really do mean no matter what. Number 5. Crazy Cutters. During the development of Mario Party 2, the developers at Hudson Soft decided that they wanted to bring back a handful of some of the previous minigames from the first Mario Party. One of such returning minigames that got added in the sequel was Crazy Cutters, and let me tell you, I'm really glad that this one came back for a second run. While the overall core concept has remained the same, the crossover and the scoring system has changed. In the first Crazy Cutters, which was a 4-player minigame, as long as the player got over 80 points, they won the game. In Mario Party 2, however, Crazy Cutters is now a battle game where the winner gets 70% of the coin pot while the runner-up receives the remainder 30%. Aside from the type of minigame that Crazy Cutters has become, the inclusion of brand new cutout designs are a welcome change to the minigame. The only real complaint I have with this minigame is the scoring system. I can do an almost flawless job tracing out my shape, and then at the last second, I accidentally cut inside the shape for a brief moment and end up with a score of a measly 69. While the computer shape looks like it's a job a retarded kid did blindfolded, which ultimately looks worse and gets a 75. Like, what? Who the hell is judging this? I swear to God, the only explanation for this is that the computers are making secret shady deals with the judges. Otherwise, you tell me how that cheap looks better than mine. Number 4. Facelift, the Mario Party 2 variant. Ah yes, Facelift. Inspired by the opening title screen to Super Mario 64, Facelift brought that same concept as its own minigame. And just like Crazy Cutters, this one was another minigame that was brought back into Mario Party 2 from the original. Now although both versions are technically the same, for the sake of this list, I'm choosing the Mario Party 2 variant as the number 4 choice for best minigames in the N64 trilogy. This is simply for the fact that this variant of the game has all 6 character faces to mess around with as models, whereas the first one had strictly Bowser's face. Since the gameplay and mechanics of the minigame are identical in pretty much every regard, the reason why the remake outdoes the original is solely based on more content. Though, I don't know if this is just me, but I felt like some of the face models are extremely easy and not challenging at all. Easiness aside, this one is pretty awesome. I mean, come on, how is it not fun to stretch Mario's face into the most derpish and awkward looking faces imaginable? Number 3. Hexagon Heat and Mushroom Mix-Up. Coming in at number 3 is Mushroom Mix-Up and its Mario Party 2 variant, Hexagon Heat. Because both minigames are identical in every aspect, minus some very minor aesthetic differences, they share the same position on this list. This is another Simon Says kind of minigame that can have some really intense runs at times and can be quite challenging when playing against other players. In my opinion, these two variants are the best 4-player minigames in both the first and second games of the Mario Party series. I don't know how to explain it, but it just feels like there is some sense of urgency when playing these minigames that you just don't get in most other minigames. And, like any good 4-player minigame, there's some real strategy on trying to screw your friends from getting onto the assigned color platform, which can lead to some real intense freakouts if you're successful. Oh! Oh my god. Yeah, I think that reaction says it all.
Finish!
Number 2. Crazy Cogs. At number 2 on this list, we have Crazy Cogs. This epic 1 vs 3 minigame feels, in a sense, very similar to Shock, Drop, and Roll. Being the madman behind the lever and watching your opponents stay alive gives me such an incredible satisfaction. And, like Shock, Drop, and Roll, this minigame is mostly in the one player's favor, as dodging bullet bills can be quite a formidable challenge. However, having said that, even though it is very hard to avoid the incoming bullet bills, I find it just as fun to be on the team of 3 as I do being the one player. When everyone else is down for the count and it rests on me to win for the team, there is an immense sense of pride that I feel when the team is victorious. This is one of the far tougher minigames that is in Mario Party and is the only reason why this one fell just short of the number 1 spot on this list is due to the imbalance in difficulty between the one player and the team of 3. Had they made this minigame a touch easier for the team of 3, then it would be perfect. This issue aside, this minigame is a really good game and well worthy of being a runner-up for the best minigame of all time in Mario Party.
Finish! I'm the best!
Number 1. Snowball Summit. It was really hard to choose a number 1 spot for a minigame that was worthy of being called the best in the trilogy of the Mario Party games. When making this list, there was a couple of different games that were taken into consideration for this top tier position. Ultimately though, it was decided that Snowball Summit from Mario Party 3 sits above all the rest and would take the crown as my personal favorite in the N64 Mario Party series. It's just so much fun to build a tiny snowball, turn it into this behemoth boulder, and stick it onto your friends to knock them off the mountain. The freestyle gameplay associated with this game allows players to gang up on one another or have one giant free-for-all. There does exist a form of strategy as one snowball, no matter how big or small, can cancel out another snowball. Making a small snowball is very quick and can be moved around rather quickly, but will do very little knockback against your opponent. Whereas a very large snowball takes a very long time to make and is very slow to maneuver, but has a very powerful knockback against your opponents. Finding the right way to use your snowballs offensively and defensively is the key to success to knocking your friends off the mountaintop. The only real major gripe I had with this one was that the computers always seem to purposely gang up on you before they even fight each other. It's like they subconsciously recognize you as their biggest threat and feel like they must eliminate you right away. Maybe this is just me, but it seemed that way whenever I was playing this minigame, especially with computers on the higher difficulty setting. This minor complaint aside, this is truly the pinnacle example of what a minigame should be like in Mario Party. This is the minigame that other minigames wish they could be. If there is any reason why you should play Mario Party, Snowball Summit is the trump card for the series in the original trilogy. It speaks for itself.
Finish! I'm the best!
So there you have it. Those are what I consider the best N64 Mario Party minigames. Do you agree with my personal picks? Why or why didn't you like my choices? Tell me what minigames you'd included. Don't forget to like, comment, and while you're at it, subscribe to my channel for more awesome content in the future. This is Scarlet Sense 4, signing out.